Hey everybody, this is Shane from Library of the Omniverse Press, and I'm really excited about what I'm going to show you today. I really hope you enjoy it. So basically what we have here is the very first playthrough of Widdershins, the role-playing game, with Jordan, Sarah, and Tatiana, and myself. We're also joined by fellow Library of the Omniverse Press founder, Sharad Khan, and we are so grateful to have him. He does a fantastic job, and I really think you're going to love the scenes that he does with Jordan. The game had already seen just one playtest prior to this, and I was so impressed with how it ran that I just wanted to show it to people in action before I gave them, full access to the adventure, because I really wanted to show it off. There's a quirky little artifact of sort of the development cycle in here because thanks to one of our amazing sensitivity consultants, Shireen Kaur, we caught that one of our characters was named sort of incorrectly for the region that she would have come from. And also there was a conflicting name for anybody who's familiar with the Wyborn and Griffin series. That was just a brain fart on my part. So you'll notice that the character we refer to in the pocket guide as Edie Chan, we call her Hattie Fawn in this. There's just a little bit of a fun kind of behind the scenes peek at the process. And we are just so grateful to everybody who's gotten us this far, from all of the creative people who've worked on Widdershins, the role-playing game, our dev team, and the amazing illustrators who helped me bring the pocket guide to life. We're so proud and so grateful of what a fantastic job you've all done. And also thank you so much to our backers. We're just so grateful that we got fully funded in 4 hours. It's just beyond our wildest dreams. But we're really hoping that we can keep that energy going, because we are so excited about our stretch goals, and both the ones that we've unveiled and the ones that we've kept hidden so far. So keep the word out for Widdershins, and we really hope that you enjoy the following program. I definitely think that you will. If you enjoyed this session, we are planning to release other following sessions of gameplay for the $10 and up backers. So that's going to be part of our premium content going forward. This is just our first little free preview. So enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very, very, very first premiere of the Widdershins RPG published adventure, The Phoenix and Ouroboros. We are so lucky to be joined by author Jordan L. Hawk and game designer Sarah Kennedy. Yay! We're really excited to show you this, people, because it's really a beautiful system. I think you're going to enjoy it. The first thing I want to do is say that kind of what we want to do with this is give people a little bit of an idea of what this game looks like in action. Along that line, I want to go start with our best practices as gamers. So the first thing I want to say is, if anybody ever feels uncomfortable with something that's going to happen or where things are going, go ahead and leave an X in the group chat. Just go ahead and just type the letter X, and I will figure out a way to just move us back to where we want to be. Are there any things first ahead of time, any triggers or traumas that we want to avoid in the subject matter?
For me, nothing involving intense harm, death, or mutilation of children. It's not something I really enjoy in games. It does actually kind of disturb me, and I know that in some horror novels that are from this period, that's a very common trope. I don't mind it if an orphan fights back and gains agency and overcomes a mean head of an orphanage, but I don't particularly enjoy stories where children get hurt.
All right, noted. I will definitely avoid any of that stuff. Jordan, do you have anything?
Not off the top of my head. I think given the sort of adventure we're looking at tonight, that I should be good.
Okay. You guys have any?
Understandably so. The same tangent about small children. I don't like hearing about animal harm reviews.
That animal harm is my particular trigger, so in any game that I am GMing, it won't come up.
Based off of like everything from the facts and what I know of you as a person, I like, can't think of anything I can mention.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I guess just so that everybody who is going to be listening to us knows, this adventure includes medical experimentation, medical abuse, violence, and a brief mention of reproduction or reproductive capabilities, and mentions of human sexuality, possibly. Like, that's not necessarily going to come up, but it may. Not very much so. So before we really get started, I want everybody to just close their eyes, taking a big, deep, full breath all the way to the top of your lungs, all the way filling in your diaphragm, and then hold it. And then when you let it out, I want you to let out all the stress of your day and everything that's been going on with you, because 2020 is a hell of a thing, and when we're coming down to the table, we're all going to be bringing in a lot of stuff. That stuff will be there when you get back. For right now, I want you to take another nice, deep, cleansing breath in, and then out. And then feel the releases on your mind just sort of like unlocking and allowing you to, for today, be a different person. So when you're ready, I want you to open your eyes, and we will get started with the very first scene. Today, in Widdershins, Massachusetts, which is a coastal town in the northeast of the United States of America, which is still kind of brand new. It's like been a couple centuries, but it's really, really not an adult country yet. And right now it is definitely in some kind of adolescent phase where there's just nonstop uprisings everywhere. But in Widdershins, things are peaceful, more peaceful than they are in most places in the US or maybe even world at this point. It is 9 o'clock in the morning in October, and it is a crisp, cool, but like pleasant fall morning. We're gonna start with Dr. Alvin Bannister. And where I'm going to start Dr. Bannister is he is just ending a overnight shift at the hospital. When the scene opens on Dr. Bannister, he is just finishing up a conversation with his friend and colleague and former partner, Dr. Reggie Singh. Reggie doesn't have a lot of time. So he's been trying to hear what's going on with Alvin in little bits and bobs, but like you've barely had any chance to fill him in.
Yeah, so I haven't even gotten to like the experiment part.
Okay.
I'm like just very well aware he just does not have the presence to have had those nights. God knows how long this man's been on ER.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wish Reggie well and all that. And let him be on his way if he needs to.
Before he leaves, and I want to, at this point, transition into scene, because from now on, I want you guys to be thinking of gameplay the same way you would be thinking about just writing a book. Instead of thinking, what do the numbers do? What are the numbers going to do for me? What are the mechanics going to do for me? Just go ahead and describe what you do. Yeah. And I will help the mechanics sort of move with that. So in dialogue, as you sit in the break room, Reggie is continuously glancing at his pocket watch, and he says, so how long until you meet with that young lady who reached out to you?
Not very long after this.
Oh, you're going right away?
I see no reason not to.
Probably for the best, but you do need some sleep at some point.
Sleep is for after.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling. But you've got to be safe. You've got to be careful. And now I have to run because babies do not wait to be born.
No, they very much make that schedule of their own accord. See you later, Reggie.
Bye, Al.
he hurries off. What do you do?
I do exactly what I said. Freshens up a bit, grabs a coffee, and heads off to go find Miss Anita Naves.
Nice. All right.
I think back to where she told me to meet her.
Oh yeah, you know the way to her house. You sort of know the walk very well from the hospital to kind of where the Black community lives in Widdershins. And like it is not like in just one place, but you have been the doctor of many, many people in the Black community. So you have made house calls to people before. You know the way fairly well. As you walk, you can hear the sounds somewhere near the front desk in the hospital of your colleague, Dr. Howard West, who is nasally berating the front desk clerk. Are you just gonna like go by?
Is this at the hospital or is this at the?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna be a little nosy as I walk by.
He is yelling at her. He's saying something like, "I told you, ingrates, that this is my day off, and I am not to be called in on my day off." And he continues. Cool.
I have a snag called the cat's curiosity. So I walk over and I'm like, I'm bad with the exact words right now, but basically I'm like, oh no, it's such a shame that they called you in for what exactly? Oh no, is there any way I can help instead?
Don't you have something else to do, Dr. Bannister? Which is not your name.
Oh, of course I do, Dr. East, but I was just thinking once I get to it, if I had any free time, then maybe I could help you out. After all, it's your day off.
I don't need help from you, thank you, he says, and like turns snoodily away.
Oh, I know that song. That's great. Did he leave or is he just turned away? Also,
he is stalked away. He is stalking around angrily. He just doesn't want to be standing here right now. The front desk clerk is a young woman, white woman with brown hair, and she looks very grateful to you.
I mean, yeah, just this sound.
She nods.
I gotta be nosy though. I gotta ask her what that was all about. So no, like just genuinely, I gotta be nosy. So what was so important that Mr. Firepants over there?
Honestly, I don't even know why they brought him here from Arkham. He's been a nonstop nuisance ever since he got here, but for some reason that I have not been privy to, the hospital director has called him in here to do rounds. I think that he's supposed to be covering for somebody. I'm not sure if this is some kind of power move from the director trying to like put him in his place or whatever, but it's not going to work.
Well, I guess I kind of understand why he's a little annoyed. I mean, if he's being called to do somebody else's work for him, who's supposed to be doing the rounds?
I mean, it was supposed to be, let me see, Patrick Clark, but it looks like his daughter's has some kind of emergency going on, so he called in. Oh well.
Well, God bless her. I hope everything's okay.
Me too, but I also kind of hope that he comes back quickly, because otherwise we're going to be spending the day with Dr. West. Well,
I said, God bless her. I hope everything's okay.
You should probably escape before he comes back, honestly.
I will. Good luck.
You too. I am going to move on to the next solo person, and the person who is also still in Widdershins, and that person is Lillian Wallace. Lillian Wallace has been staying at the place where she's working, which is the Portent. The Portent is sparkle goth before its time. Um, it is covered, like everything is like a black and dark blue velvet. And the way that she has somehow integrated rhinestones into the decor, it looks a lot like the night sky or something magical. There's kind of like a planchette decor going on. She's leaning real heavy into like the Victorian obsession with mysticism. And it's been a really safe place for you to sleep. It's been a really nice place to stay, and they serve you 3 meals a day on the clock. So you're waking up at leisure. What are you doing this morning?
Lillian is going to get up, and she is going to just she will wake up looking immaculate because that's just how she is. And she's going to spend probably the first 20 minutes of her day just preparing herself. But she's got an agenda for what she's got to do today because she's trying to get a hold of Richard Pearson. She's going to go downstairs and she's going to get probably something to help pick her up in the morning, whether it's a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And she doesn't walk down the stairs. She will descend the stairs.
Yes.
That is how she rolls. Even if the audience is an audience of one, she will always move as if she is in a play. So she would slowly descend the stairs and see who's in the room.
You do have an audience of one, and that audience is your new friend and employer, Miss Kitty Freeman. Kitty is almost 6 feet tall, so she's even taller than you. She's a black cis woman. She's also quite fat, very beautiful, incredibly beautiful. And she gives you a smirking, knowing look of oh, look at you as you descend. Good morning, dear.
Oh, good morning, Kitty.
How are you?
Oh, I am very good today. Although today's the day I get all my business done. Because, the stage cannot wait, but my errands can't either.
No, they cannot. As I recall, we have a little something special planned for this evening, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do. And I promise you I will be back in time for it. But if I don't get these errands done, I'm afraid it might be the death of me. So...
Godspeed. I wish you all the luck in the world, dear. He gives you a little smooch on the cheek as you go. So, you also happen to know the way to Pearson's residence, and you know enough, you've heard enough about his deal to know that he's likely at home. He doesn't work. You don't know, what these rich people do and how they get their money and what they do with it, but he seems to live a life of leisure, and he's often about town, so people generally know where he is. Do you make any other stops, or do you just head up straight there?
I am going to stop to get coffee or something to eat, but I'm going to get something pretty quick.
Well, there is coffee at the bar of the club before you leave if you want to drink there, but if you want to just get something either to eat at Marsh's just to have a nice day out before you head over, that's totally cool too.
I think it'll be more she's going to go into there's going to be a local tavern or inn nearby that she can just pop in, get a quick bite to eat, have everybody just regale everybody with her presence. And then she would do that very mild flirting where, if people take an interest in her, she'll be if you like me now, you should see me tonight. Which, by the way, when is her act for tonight?
So she is on, I don't know that there is a stage manager, but Kitty would want her to be backstage by 5:50 and on by 6:30. And then supposedly, although you are sort of the master of ceremonies for this, the card evening will begin at 8 after you're done with your set.
Okay. Then, so she's got to hurry. It'll be very much a quick breakfast and coffee, and then she's going to head over to see him because she wants to know, because she has a lot of questions for him.
Okay, awesome. So the people, there isn't actually, it's kind of a thin crowd when you go out to eat because it's Saturday morning and people are a little sleepy. But the people who are there are very excited that you've come to eat lunch or breakfast rather with people, because like you've been playing an engagement in town. You're well known throughout like the country or even the world. So you're like, there's a celebrity sitting here eating with them. They're very happy about it. It gives you a nice little lift for the rest of your day. And when you leave to go to Pearson's residence, the sun is shining. It's beautiful. Everything seems auspicious.
What a perfect day to ask a guy about murders.
Absolutely. Oh, fantastic. So, do you walk? Do you take the trolley? Do you hail a cab?
Oh, she will move as little as possible, so probably take a trolley. She's also a performer, so she's not rolling in money, despite what her appearance might suggest.
Yep. Although you do have it fairly good here because Miss Kitty does not ask you for anything in return for lodging, and is like she's taking it out of your paycheck for sure, but you do get a positive paycheck at the end of all of that. So you're making money from living here. The trolley lets you off near a very nice residential area. Everything in this part of the town is like super country, beautiful, pastoral New England setting. And of course, because it is New England, it's all a little bit spooky too. There are like lots of spooky trees, lots of shade. And as you walk along the lane, you see like most of the houses here are set way, way, way back from the road with lots of privacy in between. Mr. Pearson's house is much like this. It's got like a big like driveway and a garden in front, and Mr. Pearson is wearing a cute little sun hat and his like morning gardening clothes, and he's out gardening. And when he sees you, although you've never met this man in your life, he pops up and he goes, "Hello there."
Hi, is this a Mr. Michael Peterson, I presume?
Richard Peterson.
Sorry.
No worries. Come on in. I do believe I recognize your face. You couldn't possibly be that starlet, could you?
Oh, I have the honor of being so. It is nice to meet you. I am Lillian Wallace.
What a wonderful surprise for me, Miss Wallace. I am so grateful that you've come this morning. May I ask to what do I owe this pleasure?
Oh, I'm just out exploring this town, and when I heard that you were living here, I knew I had to stop by because I'm afraid I just have like a couple questions about just something that's happened in the town's history, and people have told me that you would be the one for me to ask.
Oh, well, I am a little bit of an amateur historian, but certainly not like anything close to an expert. Surely you would find better information going to the ladysmith.
Well, while that's true, I would like to just ask as many people as possible, and this question is very near and dear to me. So I wanted to make sure that I could just come straight to you.
Would you like some tea?
Certainly.
Give me a moment. Come on in. He ushers you inside. And as you go through that door, we're going to use that scene shift to move to Hattie and Gaspar.
Okay.
Who, as our scene opens on them, what has happened is just moments before, the train that the two of you were riding on has pulled into the Widdershins train station with a little like, and you are aware that there seems to be like a crowd outside of the train, but they don't seem to be like they're gonna park the train. It looks like they're waiting for possibly someone who's on the train to get off of it. What are you? I'm going to start with real quick, Jordan. What's Hattie feeling? How's she doing today?
I mean, she's pretty determined, I would say. She's determined to be here. She's looking for this Pearson guy. She's looking for some answers, maybe for a little revenge. So she's pretty focused on, I'm going to get in here, just like one of those prize fights she used to fight. She's going to get in there, do her thing, not let the opponent have any time to reorganize.
Nice, nice. You also notice the crowd on the train, and you know that crowd is for you
All
because
right.
you've been seeing those crowds more and more lately. They've been less enjoyable since what happened in the Himalayas. Because before, when people would crowd around you to ask about your adventures, you had a lot of cool and exciting things to tell them. But lately, they just seem to want to ask about what is like the worst night of your life. And so, the other side of that is like, this is a place that is rife for information, and these people are happy to tell you basically anything, and people basically tell you anything you ask them.
Nice.
It's like, you're cool. So, Gaspar, you've been riding on this train with this like cool, no nonsense chick who's got like revenge in her eyes.
Ride or die, baby.
I too am in Widdershins because I seek answers. The answers I seek are very multi-layered, but for right now, I'm just a little apprehensive about the crowd outside, but clearly I've quickly realized that they're there waiting for Hattie. And why wouldn't they be, you know? I'm here to find research information about the Brotherhood, and right now the crowd doesn't seem to spur the secret society thing to me if you're just out in the open in a crowd. So while I scan the crowd, I don't see anything of particular interest, and I just kind of pass it along.
Nice. Your employer, Mr. Robert Whitney, has told you that Widdershins is kind of a unique locale, whereas most of the places that you've been talking about sorcery or magic in public would be like net the kind of response that talking about sorcery or magic in public in the real world would net you. It's like it's a nonsense to most people. But Whitney has told you that basically everyone here in this town knows about sorcery and magic and the kinds of like things from the outside that you've been studying. And he sort of like offhandedly mentioned that there was something that happened about 8 years ago in the town. But the way he spoke of it seemed so ubiquitous that like he didn't give you a lot of info about it because he just knew too much about it. He didn't really know what you didn't know. So you don't really have a good idea about what happened. But you do know that even in this place, even like the random general crowd is going to have maybe a little bit more intel than your random standard crowd.
Okay.
The doors of the train open. What do you guys do? Everybody is getting off.
All right, well, if Gaspar's okay, I'm going to get off first.
Yeah, of course.
Draw the eyes of the crowd. Yeah, I feel like Hattie is probably, she's still reeling from the loss of her team in the Himalayas, but she's also someone who's used to the crowds, used to putting on her game face. So she's like, when she steps off, she's got her game face on. She's got her, you want my she's signing autographs, kissing babies, shaking hands.
Yeah, the second you're off that train, you hear a high-pitched voice. Oh my God, it's Hattie Fan. She's actually here. And suddenly everyone around you see mostly honestly young faces. Mostly your admirers are probably anywhere from 8 to 16. And they're all like, how do I do what you do? And their parents and also a few adult admirers are being more polite, but they are also around. There's a big obstruction on the you getting off the train, you literally can't even move off of the train. What to do?
I'm gonna try to move away from the train.
Okay.
In the back of my head, I'm like, maybe Gaspar can kind of get out and go around the edge of the crowd if there's anything interesting to go on back there. And I'm gonna kind of draw the, and the kids how can I do, and I'll give them the standard, learn how to punch, work hard, and take advantage of opportunities. And then when any adults come around, I might be like, Oh yeah, I'll sign it. Oh hey, by the way, do you know where I'm new in town here? Do you know where I can find a Mr. Pearson?
Awesome. Yeah. Actually, because you are doing that, I would love it if you would give me. Actually, I shouldn't tell you. I want you to decide for yourself. I want you to give me a trait roll with whatever aptitudes, and those can stack. So whatever aptitudes you think are gonna fit with that, and even if it's not like perfect, like be adventurous with your traits and aptitudes. They don't have to
Yeah.
be.
I feel like it might be a combination of the renowned explorer, because that's what I'm clearly known for, and I don't know if street smarts would exactly fit.
I think it would. Yeah, definitely.
So I'm thinking she knows how to, work she's learned starting off boxing how to work the crowd up into like her current. So that would be a D20 plus 2.
Nice. And I'm actually going to throw on an additional +2 circumstance modifier too, because people
Everyone's
here,
here for you.
yeah, they're inclined.
Excellent. In that case, it's a 22, 18 plus 4.
Ow.
So,
Dang. This
I
is
got my one good roll. With the history of these dice, I got my one good roll out of the way now, and the rest of them will be ones.
That's what I'm afraid of too. Where I'm gonna get all my good rolls out of the way.
honestly, it seems like there's just a pattern when I play tabletop role-playing games. When a person has good luck, they have good luck for the whole session, and when a person has terrible luck, it just sticks forever. It never lets up. So,
I'm sure Jordan did a great job. What was the intensity in that?
Oh, yeah, actually, I was going to answer that question in a sort of teachable moment kind of way, but also, I guess, a little bit like how the sausage is made. Sarah, I noticed that you had written the rules initially to be that the narrator determines the intensity after the roll. Was that like an on-purpose thing of like kind of counteracting the weirdness of the RNG? Because like sausage gets made stuff, the random number generator like range on this game is it's pretty wide. There you could get a 1 or a or 22.
I don't know if that was my intention. I think that's just how the rules came out in the draft when it was written. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I liked that. I sort of had it reversed from that in the rules you guys are working with right now, but I've been like kind of toying with putting it back to your phrasing specifically to let the narrator decide after the roll, because so often I have seen narrators or GMs to have a number in mind and then the player will roll like 2 off of it and they'll be like, okay, you can have it anyway. So like, just maybe don't say it until like after the roll. I don't know. That was kind of, I just wanted to see how high Jordan got, because the way the adventure in this works is like, if the more you get above a certain thing, the more secrets you get.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan rolled very high, so Hattie spends quite a lot of time here. So which means we're gonna have to split you guys up, because I assume you're not just gonna wait for 2 to 3 hours. Wow. This woman talks to people. Okay. So, you're a lot, Jordan. You, for some reason, I mean, let me real quick, I'm going to focus back on because you have such a wealth of information, where does Hattie want to steer the conversation toward?
Yeah, I feel like, again, she's pretty focused. She's here to find out. She suspects this guy had something to do with what happened to her team in the Himalayas, and that's her real ultimate, at least her short-term goal is to find this guy and find what he knows and if he was behind it and why, and what about this cult she's heard about and what does that have to do with it. So she's working the crowd. She knows, she's learned sort of intuitively how to work this crowd, so she's taking her time with it. But that's ultimately like where she's focused in on. She's very, I think she's somebody who picks a goal and goes after it. And that's what her focus is. That's what she's really honing in on, what people are telling her, anything to do with this Pearson dude and where she can find him. And
so she finds that, so she basically like Yeah, I'm looking for an old friend of mine, Richard Pearson, or is it more along the lines of, hey, I heard that this town had some weird cult activity? Like which for
I
you?
think having not been in Widdershins before, she wouldn't open with the cult
Okay.
vibe.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm looking for this guy.
I'm looking for this, yeah.
You
Yeah.
hear a lot about Richard Pearson. Actually, like the people are fairly inclined to gossip about him because he's a seasonal resident and he's
Uh-huh.
again very rich. So he's not like, though he like does you learn kind of the layers of Richard Pearson. The layers of Richard Pearson are he's like, I am a man about town. I am the nice man. I am nice rich man. You can
I don't
trust
trust
me.
him.
But like obviously you cannot trust that rich man.
Nice rich man, right.
You cannot trust him. So you do know that he is flashy. You do basically figure you learn where he lives, but you also learn that usually while he is like at his house in the early part of the day and in the afternoons and evenings, he tends to rove and go party and be social because he doesn't have to work for a living, unlike most people. And you also here's what you learned about him because it was such a good role. I'm going to give you some like secrets.
Ooh.
You do learn that Pearson, while Pearson doesn't appear to have a job, a few people have noted that he like specifically you meet someone who works at the telegraph office and you meet another person at the post office who've noted that he has had contact with someone who appears to be an employer.
Answers to somebody.
Answers to somebody. And although he very specifically tries to cultivate an appearance of not answering to somebody. But you do discover that he is not the boss at all of whatever operation he's doing, but he does seem to be its point of contact because the thing you hear from the telegraph office and the post office is that he gets a lot of incoming messages as well. Like a lot.
He's not sending out the orders.
No. He is, but he's sending them out, but like mostly he's getting, and like the telegraph office knows more than the post because the post can't read it. But the telegraph office has to translate. Basically, the messages that Pearson gets are like somebody will send him a message that is basically word salad. That is absolutely meaningless in English. And he will say something in return like, go for it. Or don't do, like, he will give like a one-word response. That's
No.
it.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Orange tomatoes instead.
Exactly. And so that's what you know about what he's dealing with. You also hear from them because I assume that this is a vein that you want to mine a little harder because this like, post and telegraph are going to have the most.
Yeah.
That there is one contact that he especially had a lot of dealings with who was abroad often, like in places like, Pakistan or China, like near the Himalaya.
I was going to say, anywhere near the Himalayas.
Oh yeah, and all over the place too. And then suddenly this guy stopped contacting him, just stopped being abroad, like stopped sending anything. The telegraph office believes because she has been sort of sending these coded messages so much that there is an indication that this person might possibly be here now.
Aha. Another one for the hit
The
list.
last of the information you get. I'm going to move to Gaspar. Gaspar, I'm going to go a couple hours earlier in time because that took a little bit of time. You managed to like squeeze off of the train and like a bunch of other annoyed passengers like file off behind you who are like, what is this? What the hell is going on right now? Yeah, we just want to get where we're going. What do you do?
I was working my way through the crowd because I needed to see what we were near in the town other than just the train station. Because I don't expect us
Mapping
to
out
just be doing
Widdershins.
meet and greet. Well, not me, because Hattie's the famous one. So.
Well, yeah.
I don't expect to be doing meet and greets all day, and I'm sure we're gonna need to lay down for a bit before we head back into our independent ventures.
And you need a place to sleep.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try and find lodgings, maybe like a bar or something that can house us for the night or two.
Nice. Okay. So do you want to like roll one of your traits plus any attributes you feel like to like figure out a good direction to go?
I was thinking clever manipulator and negotiation.
Roll it.
So that's 10 and then 2?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, 5 is definitely enough to get you where you need to go.
You may sleep tonight.
That's
Yay.
the quick aside to any people watching this who are unfamiliar, is like your first time hearing about this system and you're like, I want to run a game. What you're seeing are people rolling dice that are anywhere from a d20 to sometimes a d4. And so you want to make like your easy tests actually easy. So if you're going to have like an easy roll in D&D, maybe you're looking for 10s. In this, you're looking for like 4 or 5 for something that could reasonably be done by somebody with persistence and gumption. So like
Especially somebody who would like to not sleep outside.
oh yeah. And the other really important thing about this system is in many tabletop games, and this is not an aspersion, this is absolutely a legit form of play, but in many games there is an adversarial relationship between the GM and the players. In this, that is not present. What we are trying to do together is just like build the narrative consensually and together. So I'm not looking to like make life hard for him right now. So yeah, that 5 does it pretty well. And well, what kind of place are you looking for? Because if you're going to be here like longer term, there are boarding houses. In boarding houses, naturally, and you expect this, you won't be able to like stay with your friend Hattie because she will have to stay at a women's boarding house and you'll stay at a men's boarding house. If you are feeling like you want to do something shorter term for the time being, in town there are a few hotels, and there's also, it's like a casino, hotel, music hall kind of thing that opened up called the Portent that sometimes has rooms, sometimes doesn't. If you want something like cozy and private where you're going to be left alone, that's not the place for you. Yeah. And like, I guess the one other idea that you get from talking to people is many of the residents in Widdershins are seasonal. So sometimes they do have like houses to sublet.
Okay.
But like that would require a little more money than Mr. Whitney has given you. It would require you talking to Hattie about it. So what do you think?
I like my quiet language research studies. Hattie, what do you think? Somewhere quiet and reclusive rather than populated?
Well, Hattie's not here right now at this moment. So you're going to either have to, well, I mean, she's here, but she's in the crowd. So you'd have to push through the crowd and talk to her and get her attention, which you could reasonably do. Or you could just decide to make the choice without her.
Hattie's not picking the bedroom, and you like quiet places to study.
I've never heard somebody complain about a nice place to sleep, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and make that decision.
Nice. Okay, perfect. So you find very quickly in Widdershins that the public transportation is great. There's a beautiful little trolley that goes all around the town. And there are cabs, handsome cabs too. Actually, at 1910, they would have all given over to motor cars at this point, probably, right?
Oh God, I think there was a mix. Just depended on like how fancy the city you were in was and how much money you wanted. There was still a lot of horse-drawn stuff in 1910, but it was at the point where things were being overtaken. So you could definitely, I think, get a motor cab.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, Yeah, those are your options.
I'm fine with it.
Cool. Yeah, Private Gaspar would like to have a cab. No one is shocked. You don't have that much trouble hiring a cab from the train depot. They're just sort of there. And I guess you ask them to take you to whatever residential area seems most likely.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Let's elide this because it's not particularly like a fascinating experience for your character. It's very much like house hunting in real life. So if you want to roll whatever trait you want to roll.
Roll for escrow.
And then once that is handled, I'm going to go back to the top with Dr. Bannister. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Clandestine
Doctorly
sorcerer, human
science.
behavior. I manifest my housing.
Yeah, you can. That's how magic
so
works.
it's 20 plus 2. I got an 8.
Perfect. There you go. You do find that Gaspar has found in his life, and this is something that he is old enough and wise enough, like he's not like probably much over 30, he's probably in his 20s, early 30s, but he is old enough now to have understood the power of wanting. And so he gives himself a little moment as he steps off the hansom cab to just imagine the place he wants to live. And because he is a powerful enough sorcerer, like, here it is, of like maybe 10 minutes after that, you run into a really nice house. The person who is like in charge of renting, you sense it must be the family's servant. They're like an older white man. He seems a little like snooty and off-put by your traveling clothes, but he's won over eventually by like how quiet you are. He's just really into like that specifically, and he's like, "Oh, you don't look like you're much trouble at all." So he gives you the house for 3 months at a really nice price point. And
Thanks, Jeeves.
So you have a really nice place to live right now. And it's in kind of the middle class area of town. It's not super rich people. It's not the slums. It's just hello again. Oops.
Oh, hello, darkness.
So
I'm on my way to go see Miss Anita.
you are. The way into where Anita lives is run down and quite there's still a lot of the scars and signs of damage from O2 in the area. You can see a lot of places that have not still, because like it was a lot of damage, there's still places that are just the burnt out skeletons of what they used to be, but that's like old ruins now, like 8 years old at this point. And then but like the way that nature has retaken the area, it doesn't feel like gross or bad. It just sort of feels like nature has reasserted itself into the place. And as you walk, like it's a beautiful day, there are children running about.
Beautiful morning.
And you come upon at the end of a dusty, winding lane after like you start to relax as like the black neighborhood sort of unfolds itself to you. And people are sitting on their porch, like reading and having a nice Saturday. There's like suddenly the absence of an oppressive force in the area. And you find your way to the end of the way where Anita's small white house sits. There's no one outside of it.
Knock on the door.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, thank you. She says from inside, sounding very flustered. And then the door opens just a little crack. Like it seems like nobody's like pulling on the other side of it. It just seems like someone had turned the lock and let it go. She says, "You can come in if you want."
Me? Personally, as a player, nah, son. But sure.
You've seen this movie.
Even though it is spooky,
A curious cat. It's my snack.
it's true. You feel that there is something amiss definitely going on with whatever is going on. But you want to know what it is so bad.
Do I have to figure it out?
You're like, oh. So you kind of push in. And to your relief, there is no like horrible monster inside. Instead, there's just a 19-year-old black girl. She's slender and pretty. She's exhausted looking. It seems that she has not slept in days. Her skin is sallow and her eyes have bags under them.
And this isn't the miss who told me. Oh, it is?
This is the miss. Yeah, this is you've seen her a little bit before. She's not a normal patient of yours.
She's patient of Dr. West?
Yeah, she has seen Dr. West. Like, you've never interacted with her socially. And sorry. So she's got like a really kind of that look about her, like she's just like charged with energy, and it's like a frightened, excited, determined energy. Every single gaslight in her house is on at its brightest capacity, and it's like almost blinding here.
Alrighty.
And it's very neat. Like, it looks like she's been compulsively cleaning, maybe. And she says, "Oh, come on in, Dr. Bannister, yeah?"
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. You can't understand what this has been. Maybe you can. She putters around. "Can I offer you anything to drink?"
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
I would love something to drink.
Well, would you let's see. We've got some water, coffee.
Waters. I just got off from the hospital. Hydration.
Okay, her hands are shaking as she moves into the kitchen, gets you some tap water, and brings it to you. There's plenty of room to sit down if you want to.
I can ask her what's wrong, but I'd like to just roll prone to epiphany to figure out what's wrong with her based off of everything.
Okay, I won't make you roll for it because you know enough now that you don't quite have enough data.
Okay.
That you need to listen to her a little bit. You know that she's screwed up somehow. Like, something has screwed her up.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out if between the lights and her shaking. Okay.
There is nothing as a and like that is notable to you as a doctor. This isn't something like, oh, this is a diagnosis. Like, this is just a frightened young woman who's doing weird stuff. And so how do you approach her? What do you do?
I just ask her what it is that she wants to speak to me about. I understand whatever it is seems to be bothering her a lot, and I'd like to help.
She seems like kind of relieved by you're just getting down to business. She says, I was really worried about how to even begin. There's just so much. I guess the first thing that I should do is start with me, right? I went into Dr. West because I had been seeing these brochures that the Widdershins Health Council had been putting out, saying that people should go to the doctor for a yearly checkup. I was feeling fine. I hadn't ever really been to a doctor, but I went in because the health advisory said so. Just seemed like the right thing to do. When I went in there, he was very rude, but
Yes.
Well, I guess I'm glad it wasn't just me. But most white doctors do, but it was like I was cattle. But then he put this swab in my mouth, like all the way to the back. And it tasted bad, like bitter. Something was on it. And when I asked him about it, he got very offended. He said, "No, you're making it up. There's nothing on my instruments." He started to get mad, and I thought he would hurt me, so I dropped it. But after that, well, the first thing that started was the nightmares, but I guess that was probably just normal, right? It wasn't a kind or gentle examination.
What kind of nightmare?
It's so hard to describe. It feels like I'm underwater, but I'm breathing fine. And there's this enormous city all around me. And I think I can see things swimming in the shadows, but I'm not quite sure what they are. They look maybe like almost people, but I can never really find out more before I wake up. It just seems like I can't control it.
Have you ever had dreams of such a fantastical nature before? Not the exact dream, but you understand how, like, out of the ordinary this is.
Yes.
Like cotton candies for trees, anything.
What is unusual about it is its consistency. It's always the same thing. It used to be that I would have dreams like that, like dreams of nonsense. This seems like it's dreams of something because it's the same thing every night. And well, I'll tell you more later about that, but after the dreams, well, this is the most important thing, I think. She looks very torn about like what she's about to do, and then like she's ripping off a bandage, she goes and she systematically begins turning down the gas lights in her home. And as the light goes down, you notice that there is a phosphorescent light emitting from her.
Uh-oh.
No, there was definitely something on that cotton swab that don't just happen in nature. All right.
It doesn't.
Okay, so I understand the last time a doctor touched you, you came home and started to glow. But if you don't mind, I would love to give you an examination, please. Please take out why you glow.
She
doesn't say
she turns the lights back on, noticing your discomfort. And she says, yes, I that's one of the reasons I haven't been able to sleep. Whenever I turn the lights off,
Yeah, I can understand. I do want to apologize for my lapse in bedside manner. You have to understand.
I understand.
I
I understand. I promise. Well, I've been talking to the people I know who've been to Dr. West, and I think I've managed to find most of them.
do you mind providing us with this?
They asked me not to give their names out, which I hope you understand, but I do have everything that they had to say, I think. And I can ask them if they would be all right with sharing their names with you, but I think you can understand at this point they're pretty frightened of doctors.
I understand doctors, understandable so, but if there are people walking around with similar conditions, then they need a doctor who's not.
That's the thing. And they're not similar at all. Every single one of us is something completely different. No one else is glowing. Because the only thing that's the same between us is the dreams. We all, that's the first thing everybody mentions.
So, dreams are a shared symptom. Glowing is a symptom that you have.
I'm the only one, yes.
Yes. But everyone else has a odd sort of something to come with the dreams since they've seen Dr. West.
Different things. Some of them are mild, some of them are weirder. One gentleman appears to have some other appendages growing out of his back.
If you will not give me a list of names, you will give me a list of symptoms, and should I so come upon them in my life, then I can move forward from there.
Okay. The list of symptoms she gives as a doctor are clinically and statistically insignificant to you. They are just so broad. Like, I'll align this. They're so broad that they do not give you anywhere to go. That they just seem to be random.
Okay, I'm
manifestation.
sorry. Well, I mean, like, when I say, so she's glowing.
Yeah,
One guy
tells you.
has multiple arms.
Yeah.
One
guy
and I
had a
know
rash.
they're not gonna.
Like, yeah, like it's stuff like that.
I
Like, she
guess
does
I'm
give
just-
you a big long list. It's just there's so much that
I guess
doesn't match at all.
what I'm just listening for are like the more extremes of it to keep an eye out for, because like I'd like to go check on those people immediately, but I can't because name stuff.
Yeah.
But like if I see a guy walking around with like a bump on his back and I know one of these is a guy with 2 heads, then maybe I need to go talk with guy with 2 heads.
She says, when you sort of intimate that to her, she says all of the conversations that I was able to have were with people when the changes had just set in. When people started to feel like they were very strange, they stopped talking to anyone or leaving their house at all. I haven't seen a few of my friends in weeks. She says that she...
These are all people who live nearby?
Yeah, they're in the neighborhood. You could, if you wanted to spend your day that way, go around the neighborhood. Like, and honestly,
that's about to be what we do.
Roll your epiphany trait for a check. I'm asking for a check because I wanted to add when you do a thing.
So to epiphany and deductive reasoning?
Yeah, sure. Like when you had rolled the manipulator to do a thing, at that point we've marked that as like one use of that skill. So after 2 more times it'll decrement to a lower die. But the check I just asked for is just to sort of see what reality is around Dr. Bannister, and I'm not going to decrement any dice for this check. It looks like
I just used the 12.
Looks like a pretty good roll though. Looks like a roll of 11.
No, just a 9.
Just a 9. Okay,
Yeah,
I
already added the modifier.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice. The epiphany you get is that if you bring Anita with you, they will probably be a lot more likely to talk to you. And she seems real
Anita
willing.
with me. Okay.
Yeah, if you're just like, will you come with me to go around the neighborhood?
No, that makes sense. I didn't hear Anita. I thought you were telling me if you bring a needle, they'll be.
I'm gonna stab you with a needle when you talk to me,
That's the wrong thing to
Like
bring.
you do. I mean, that's what you do.
as one does.
I asked her. Well, first I do want to give her the examination that I was talking about. I doubt I'm gonna come back with anything I understand.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Okay. While you're giving her the examination, she's talking to you. Basically, as a stream of consciousness the whole time. Like she has had no one to tell any of this stuff to, so it falls out of her and you cannot stop it. She says that in addition to the glowing, she has experienced weird mood swings, cramping, swelling in her feet, cravings for strange foods, things that her mother and aunties all were like, "Are you pregnant?" But she knows very specifically that she's not, because she had a hysterectomy at the moment, so she cannot be pregnant.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, and I understand how hysterectomies work. But do I also, as a doctor examining her now, if I didn't know she had that, would I be like, "You're pregnant"?
Yeah, you would. You would totally be like, "You are definitely pregnant," and she says that she was definitely not pregnant.
You had a hysterectomy at a young age? Why? And then to perform CPR.
She gets real quiet, and she's like,
You don't have to share if you don't want to.
and she nods, because it's just deep personal trauma that really doesn't have a lot of bearing on the situation. She says that every single one of the people she talked to reported the same swabbing in the back of the mouth with the bad tasting substance, and they all reported Dr. West responding in the same way of offended belligerence. One patient said that while he walked into the room, he was muttering to himself and said he was yet to see a single cent from those Brotherhood neophytes. Brotherhood of the Immortal Dunces is more like it. Another person heard him say, Pearson had better have all the money this time. I'm not a charity worker, but it's of note to you that you and Dr. West actually do work at a charity hospital, so, I mean, he did. So, a few people observed that Dr. West has kept his notes on the project in a leather folio that he keeps inside a locking cabinet, but he does not appear to actually lock the cabinet. He just sort of opens and closes it casually. As I said before, all the effects have been really, really different. She does give you a big old list, and there is no discernible pattern, form, intensity, or onset speed between patients. She is definitely at the weirder end, like the other extremes that you've heard from her. And like I said, she hasn't been able to witness any of the real extremes, but people seem to be either growing other parts of themselves or another symptom she says, and she doesn't know if she's just making this up, but she says that whenever she looks at people and they look at her, it feels like she's looking at herself from them, if that makes sense.
Oh,
To
no.
be honest with you, no, it doesn't.
She's
She's
like,
just being very like, I'm trying to help, but
Yeah.
it is.
and
it is-
she's very understanding of the fact that we're all out to see here. This is very strange.
I will ask her to help me call the people in the community, and I would like to do that today.
She's definitely willing and ready to do that. She wants to keep telling you what she knows. There's one person who died.
Oh.
And the community, his name is Bobby Briggs. He's about 21. And he had an experience of, first he had hives, like a difficulty breathing, shallow, rapid breathing. He started having GI problems that were consistent in your book with dehydration. So like vomiting, diarrhea, his skin got very dry. He became very dizzy, blurred vision, and then started fainting, passed out, and then never regained consciousness.
Could some of those symptoms be like very extreme versions of the parasite?
I want you to roll any trait you think would be useful for discerning those symptoms.
Medical prodigy, I'll say, and effective.
Fantastic.
So medical prodigy is my D20 skill, and it's +1. Okay. That's a 5.
That's fine. These are fairly very standard symptoms of anaphylaxis, which is a reaction to some sort of allergen.
Okay.
So you know that whatever it is that Dr. West put on that swab,
Bobby's allergic to it.
Bobby was deathly allergic to that. She says everyone mentions strange nightmares. I said she says that the person who mentioned Pearson, she thinks that it's Richard Pearson, a man about town, seasonal Widdershins resident. He's wealthy and hangs with industrialists, but doesn't seem to be one himself. It's a bit of a mystery what he does. It's pretty easy to find him at any given moment. He's flashy and makes little secret of his ample leisure time. And that is what she knows for now. And she is then happy to take you around the neighborhood. So I'm going to pivot now back to Lillian. Lillian has just been ushered into the adorable little cottage of one Mr. Richard Pearson. Suspiciously adorable.
Oh, yeah, he's a people person, and I'm a people person, and I can just tell that right away. So I'm wondering what's going to happen next.
You can tell that you are dealing with basically, in a phrase, like a sorcerer using the same spells you are. Like, this is a person who is the same kind of fighter you are.
Lillian, meet your anticipants.
And he also, I think, you're smart enough, he's smart enough, you're both canny enough folks to know that what you're looking at is a fellow person. So he immediately says, now what can I get you for some refreshment?
Just some water.
Of course, coming right up. Please take your seat anywhere you like. It's like beautifully, comfortably decorated with like cute stuff all over.
As I'm walking, I imagine he's going to go to the kitchen to get that. One of the things that I want to look for, because she is kind of like, she's good at observing things, is I want to see if there's like an excess of dust on like some of the the more commonly used things, because this is it looks like it's a very pretty and cute place, but I want to know if it's like a place that's actually lived in.
Okay, so I guess the first thing I want to do, just to ascertain how much you gather from looking around and being sharp-eyed as you are, is just whatever trait roll you want to do with whatever, and you can stack your aptitudes, whatever you want to throw on there.
So none of my aptitudes apply.
Okay.
But I would say that since this is a big performance that he's putting on, and I've done a lot of performances myself, I want to use Star Performer.
Okay.
So I'm going to get no bonuses to it.
I'm actually going to push back against that. I'm going to say that empathy counts toward this, because when you're thinking about what people are using, what objects people are using, you're getting into who they are and kind of taking on who they are and their living space.
All right. So I'm rolling a d20 plus 3. Oh no, should show the better space. This is only an 11.
Okay. So you don't have any incredible insights or anything, but you do get a decent amount of information while he is very quickly getting some water, because it doesn't take, I think mostly that 11 comes from the fact that he's not in there very long. Yeah.
Okay.
So what you notice about the place is, and you already knew that he is a seasonal resident, so there are a fair amount of things, mostly like the ledger items such as books that are quite dusted over, knickknacks, things that reasonably would have been left here for a subletter. The things that are most often used are, they're fairly random. They do track with your idea of somebody who lives a life of luxury, but he has been like referred to as showy, but that's mostly by people who actually like work with their day. He doesn't do anything like outlandish. He just like doesn't do much. And so like the things that you see that he uses are the stuff for his garden, or a few favored books, which you can't really tell yet, like you don't have enough time to see which books those are. But you can tell like there are a few that have been pulled and there are a few that definitely have not been. Let's see if there's I'm just trying to rack my brain to see if there's anything notable amiss in the decor that you would sense. Yeah, I guess basically the thing that you get from that 11 is how much he seems like just a likable man, just like a non-threatening, non-scary, affable guy. And I think because it's over 10, that trips your alarms more almost than if he was sinister. You're not liking how nice this guy is.
Okay.
You're not even in this room. I'm not talking to you. How am I reading nice guy from furniture?
Yeah, he like comes back in. Like it seems cultivated. Like it genuinely does. Like every single aspect of it. And so he comes back with the water. He's got his hat off. His hair is like about my length. It's sandy brown and wavy. He's a very handsome guy. He's small. He's not like a physically intimidating guy. And have you sat?
I will. I mean, I'm going to sit and just kind of like present myself like my version of a genteel noblewoman almost. Just like, very much putting myself into a character mindset.
Oh, yeah. So you've got this like amazing, because that red hair, that enormous Merida hair you're going to look Scottish wherever you go, basically. Mm-hmm. You look like the lady of a castle, of some Scottish castle, as you wait for him to return. And he like sort of smiles, like he dimples a little bit, as though he was like, he's seeing a celebrity in his house. How neat, how charming. And he gives you water and he says, so you said you wanted me to answer you some questions, and I would be more than happy to oblige.
Well, just a few. Well, the first is I've heard that you're quite the folklorist, and that you know a thing or two about like just stories about the town. And that's what I was wondering, have you heard of this thing called the Selkie?
I have. And judging by that hair, I'm sure that must be some family folklore, right? About
Yeah.
the cases. Oh, yes. And Widdershins is quite the place for those sorts of legends, isn't it? How much have you heard about our fair little town? He seems really excited about this. Like, this is the right question to ask.
I'm like, oh, barely anything at all, which is her lying, but she wants it.
Oh, my. Well, all right, so actually this is my real quick question as the writer of this adventure, because this is a question that I kept running into. How much, because the Widdershins residents, randos know about sorcery, but do randos know about Keytoy?
I would say it depends on who that rando
Okay.
is. That actually no, I take it back. Given the time setting, given the fact it's 8 years, given the fact it's 1910, then yes, everyone who was there clearly knows now. So open secret. If it was something set before then, it would depend. But yeah, it's one of those
here who was here
don't necessarily gossip about on the street.
Okay.
You know, because like just like you wouldn't necessarily gossip about the fairies in the mound over there.
Right. No.
But you might be like, less sinister than that. But like you're, polite neighbors, everyone's minding their own business. So they wouldn't necessarily talk about it freely with outsiders, but it's an open secret.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I guess I just wanted to, because he would have known about it, but I guess I wanted to know what he would feel free sharing with a random person who asked him this. And I think it's like we're in Widdershins, so it's like being in Vegas, magically speaking.
Spells that are cast in Widdershins stay in Widdershins.
Some merch, maybe.
What I'm about to say is wild, but trust me, it's gonna make sense in about 24 hours.
So he's got like a glitter in his eye as he leans forward. He looks impish, and he's like, "What if I were to tell you that most of the people here in this town have seen creatures that inspired those legends?"
No.
Yes. Yeah, like he looks like a schoolboy, like eager to tell you this. He's so excited.
She's like, oh, tell me more.
Okay.
She's holding, by the way, the glass of water, but she hasn't taken a sip yet.
He drinks from his water, by the way. Like, see, like you actually notice, like you're savvy enough to notice his eyes go to your glass, go to your mouth, go to your eyes again. He goes to his glass. He takes a drink like, don't worry, it's fine. Like you can tell, actually at this point, I want you to roll your star performer trait because one of the mechanics in this game is the toughness mechanic. And it's sort of like if you get a success, which is like if you roll above the intensity threshold, it can count as a success toward the toughness threshold. And you're getting the sense that, well, this guy is like affable and friendly. To actually get to the real meat of who he is and to find out more about him, you're going to need to make a continued effort at befriending him. So this is going to be the first of a few different rolls. If you get a success of this, it'll count as a hit toward his friendship toughness.
I rolled a 19.
That's great, man. That's excellent. That's very good. He is quite charmed by you.
Who wouldn't be?
Who wouldn't? You actually notice him relaxing out of a performer's stance into something that's a little bit more human. He says, all right, well, I suppose you mustn't have been here very long because I think most of the round-the-clock residents know of these creatures. But they are called the Keytoy. And they are a fascinating race of people. And they're a people. They're not just animals. They actually have their own governance and languages. It's really very fascinating. Now, I haven't had the pleasure of speaking with any Keytoy myself. From what I understand, they're rather secretive. But I'm belief that there are at least a few people around these parts who have, well, that there are these things, they say in the legends, called summoning stones. And summoning stones, you can use them if you've gotten one. I mean, supposedly Kitoi are said to give them to their lovers. And you are supposed to throw the stone into the water, and that will summon the individual Kitoi who has given you the stone.
This is so interesting.
I'm sure I would pay any amount of money for one of those stones. So if you find one of them, please let me know, please.
And do other strange creatures live near here?
There are always going to be tales. But it's so tough picking out what's just the wild flights of fancy of the human imagination from what is observably real. And often those two things intersect quite strangely, don't you think? But anyway.
Oh, I do think so. In fact, in addition to learning more about the Selkies, there was one other story that I wanted to learn more about. Apparently it's a local legend about these strange dog-like creatures that can just live on the outskirts of town and may have waylaid travelers. Almost look like they're dogs, but not quite.
Would you roll specifically star performer for this? Because
19.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to make it like, this isn't a thing that I care about at all. And he buys it wholesale. And he's like, oh, you mean the Hounds of Tindalos? Oh, well, that's something to talk about, isn't it? And he goes off. You, as a Lovecraft writer, know about the Hounds of Tindalos. He tells you everything that a person would have observed about them. They're scary, they're fast, they've got those crazy mouths and weird proboscis, and they continue to pursue their prey forever unless they are destroyed first. And he says, oh, but those are just stories, I'm sure.
Are they stories? Because I thought I heard that maybe these creatures were real. I mean, if the Kitoi are real, then maybe these hounds are real. And maybe then you say that they can only be defeated, like they would never stop hunting their target unless they're destroyed?
Yes. That's why I think they're not real, because surely we would have seen one of them running about after their prey, right?
I've heard stories that they're very real, and I'm actually trying to find more information about them.
Well, that would be a development, wouldn't it? I would be most fascinated to hear about what you learn in regards to that.
But in particular, I want to know why they would be summoned to, I don't know, stalk animals or go after a specific target, or to maybe even you would stick them on a family.
A family? Well, surely only a tyrant or a despot would do something like that. But I mean, I'm sure that you know how humans are, how men in particular are. Any chance at power, something like that would provide a weapon that could hardly be defeated by your normal man, correct? So I would think that anybody who would be using such a weapon would be doing so for the same reasons men always use weapons.
Well, I would like to know which particular reason someone might use this weapon, because my experience with these creatures is that they are not only real, but I think they may have killed my family.
Do you mind elaborating on that? I don't want to pry, obviously, into something that's clearly going to be painful personal business, but this is really the first I'm hearing of these creatures being potentially an actual phenomenon, and of course I'm very curious to know more about what you know.
Well, I haven't seen them firsthand, but I'm from the Appalachia region, and my family was heavily involved with the mining up there. And I was out performing in Chicago when I received notice that my family had all been caught in a dreadful cave-in. But when I went back home for the funeral, I learned that it might not have been a cave-in after all, that they may have been killed by these strange creatures that you call the Hounds of Tindalos.
When you're done finishing what you're saying in character, give me a trait roll to observe his reaction to what you're saying.
Because she's describing the bardic folklorist that'll be here, like, I'll just use D8 for that. And she's just going to be like, from the few people who could talk about the incident, they describe them as large hounds, but not quite hounds. And they seem to match what you just said. And I've been trying to find as much information about them as possible.
Of course. Now, if I were in your shoes, that would be the first thing that I would do.
All right. And I'm going to roll. Can I add empathy to that? Or is it just a 6?
Please add empathy to that.
So that is 9.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's definitely enough to see as you continue to speak. The whole of his face maintains this perfect image of baffled and curious concern. But his eyes, you can see, become more and more calculating the more you speak. You can tell that he's taking in what you're saying as data, stuff that he probably already knows.
Then I'm just going to watch to see how he reacts, and then I'm going to wait for him to start talking again.
Yes, the Hounds of Tyndall are, they're not well known, of course, but well known in certain circles. To be quite frank with you, and this is sordid business, but there are tales from a decade past, maybe a little more perhaps, of workers who were, and of course, by all means, I support workers' rights, but workers who were derelict in their duties. And again, I want to stress that I do not condone this activity, but I've heard it said that some industrialists once used these creatures to put down strikes. Do you think it possibly could have been something like that?
I don't know, but I definitely wish to find out, because my family and other people's deaths should not go unnoticed. And I believe that somebody tried to cover it up because they tried to tell everyone that a cave-in had happened in the mines, and that's not what happened. At least that's not what I believe happened. And with that, she's going to show some genuine emotion, because she is getting a little emotional over it. And she's like simultaneously like feeling the emotion rise up within her, and she's trying to ride it out like a wave.
She's doing great. He seems like he's buying her whole performance in a way, but like obviously what you guys have done is, what you have done at least, is drop what you know. You've let on sort of a little bit of your hand. And you know now that he is absolutely aware of the incident you're talking about. But he is continuing to sort of, it's almost a flawless performance. It's not flawless because you've seen through it immediately. You were seeing through it from the start. But he won't let go of it. There is, at this point, almost nothing you can do to break through this wall of the baffled, curious, affable that you've encountered.
Then I'm going to keep talking with him for maybe another 20 minutes, and I'm going to try to shift the conversation back to like ordinary folklore, but then I'm going to excuse myself to go get ready for my performance. And then but the moment that door shuts, internally that inner Appalachia voice is going to be telling me, oh, he either did it or he knows who did it.
Because that was a very clever, to bring the conversation background to something more comfortable for him. Mm-hmm. That was very clever. So take another run at his friendship count.
Just by rolling like star performer or
whatever, any of your attributes you want to use.
Oh no.
Is it a 1?
It was a 1.
Okay, so this is my favorite. So did you want to add empathy to that, or charm or something? Because both would apply.
I'll add charm, and that would only put me at a 4 though.
If you add both of them, it'll put you at a 7.
Okay, I'll do that.
Oh. Yeah, I think that it's a more fun game if you treat the modifiers like a yogurt, like a frozen yogurt bar, and just like
layer.
Yes.
The parfait of attributes.
So what happens when you roll a bad show in this is you don't necessarily fail. And because Sarah has, with her modifiers, a total of 7, that's more than enough with the way that she was performing it, because she's been really canny about how she's been going about it. That's more than enough to get another success, the second success on Pearson's friendship meter. But because it was a 1, there is something now that has happened that has complicated the situation. And I think it actually happened in the gameplay itself, because the complexity that happened was him knowing what you know. Like, he's aware that you're not what you seem either. And he knows that you know. And you know that he knows. And you both know. But he likes that. He thinks you're like a smart, capable actor. And he's into that. Like, you can tell that he likes people who are a match for him, who are just who can beat him at a game of chess. And very few people can. And he likes that you seem to be someone who might be able to. But from here on out, tests to be his friend are going to be at an intensity of 1 higher.
Okay.
For everyone, because now he's on his guard.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good thing Hattie doesn't want to be his friend.
No, she does not. And we're going to actually move right over. We're going to go to Hattie specifically. Did you have any way, before we go to Hattie, did you make any effort at telling her, sending a message to her who's surrounded by people, where you found lodgings?
No.
Okay. You were surrounded by people you've just gotten done.
Just send an urchin or something with a note.
I know, right? Right, this guy. But like,
I'll just jump up and down if you see my hands.
No one has sent an urchin because someone is feeling rude right now.
No carrier pigeon, no urchin.
And it's okay, because you know that you also blew him off.
I mean, I was trying to give him... I don't think that was her intention.
Right. But
I think her intention was to draw the attention so that he could then sneak around and do whatever he needed to do without anybody else noticing. But, Gaspar and I go back, so I'm sure she's used to it. So...
Probably, from what you know about him, he probably just did not... He was just, like, overwhelmed by humanity, by just, like, too many humans. It's, like, too many things going on.
I'm gonna have to talk to another human to tell another human where this place is.
Who wants to do that?
Like, who wants to do that? Yeah. I guess I would try to figure out where the heck my friend went so that we could regroup. I don't know exactly what I would...
I'm going to coach off of your roll from before, because that was quite... I think anything over a 20 is just like a smashing success. We might even make that into a keyword. You're close enough that people are like, oh, that guy you came here with? Yeah, I saw him go that way.
He went that way, okay.
So you can fairly easily make your way in the direction of where Gaspar is. Is there anything that you specifically want to accomplish without him? Because if not, then we'll say that you, without incident, make your way to the place that he's rented.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. I would want to hook up back with him. And I'm sure that when old Jeeves opens the door, he was all like, oh, Gaspar is clearly not trouble. And Hattie is literally nothing but trouble.
Yes.
My God, I was trapped. It's true.
What the heck? Why did I rich this guy? But it's too late. So
yeah,
bad.
You can see when you arrive that the house servant, butler, like he seems to be more groundskeeper than anything else, has sort of packed his bags and he's loading his stuff into his motor car because he's like, the place is let, I can go to my family now. And he sees you and he's like, kind of does like a...
Like, am I sure I can go?
Yeah. And he says, I'm sorry, miss. You're Miss Fun, aren't you? The explorer?
Yes, would you like an autograph?
No, I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing I could do for you.
My friend Gaspar is here, right?
Yes, he is
Okay.
inside. You don't need anything from me, do you?
Oh, no. You go ahead.
He relaxes and resumes being a human being.
It's like, please don't ask me to do anything.
Yeah, basically.
Please. Can you go fight somebody for me? Can you do that, G? And I imagine that she would immediately tell Gaspar everything that she'd learned about Pearson as soon as they met back up.
Let's do that scene. Let me walk you into it. The house itself is a cute little Cape Cod. The door itself is painted a dark navy blue, and the house is like a light powder, almost white blue. It's very cute. It's got little like a trim, sweet little curtain flapping in the wind. When you enter, Gaspar is at the kitchen table immediately, and already I assume surrounded by like books and notes and stuff for like what you need to do.
Hey, Gaspard, you nerd.
Love it. I'm loving it.
I peer over a pile of books and begrudgingly say hello.
She's like, high five me. Yeah. Okay. So, hey, yeah, while you were here, you with your nose in the books, I got some actual information on our man, Mr. Pearson.
Is that so? Would you like to share?
Actually, before you do that, we're gonna go quick back in time. What would you have already shared with him before this?
I probably would have told him, however it was that had he figured out that he was heading here and looking for the same guy, you know, she would have told him all about the Himalayan expedition, you know, how everything went horribly wrong in the night. The rest of her team got killed.
Actually, because that's like huge, that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Do you guys mind if we did a little flashback to like that conversation? The scene that you guys are about to embark on is you guys have been cooped up together on an overnight steamer for several days because you've been moving from California all the way to the very east coast of the continent. So that's a cross-country trip. He's just giving you some time to have conversations. And one night, you guys are in the abandoned dining car, I'm going to say. You guys have been up basically all night. You basically closed the place out. There are no longer any attendants working the dining car, but you are yourselves allowed to go get whatever refreshments you want to. And you guys have been sort of like shooting the shit, talking about how annoying sorcerers are and like whatever, like exploring like things like how annoying white people, because you are, especially in the passages that you guys are taking, because Whitney booked you a first class passage. You got a first class passage. You guys are the only non-white people in first class right now.
Ooh, we out here, baby.
So that's another thing that is sort of like keeping you a little bit together at this point, is like most of the people you've seen during this trip have been pink and annoying.
We're just sitting there rolling our eyes like my muscles are strained at this point.
The evening on the train, it is September. It's like midnight. Everyone else has gone to bed, and like, you know that feeling of when you guys are energized enough and no one else is awake.
Mm-hmm.
That everything feels possible and safe.
So I think Hattie's gonna, you said we could serve ourselves in the dining car. So I think Hattie's gonna get up and ferret out some libations. Another one, Gaspar?
Mouths aren't just for talking in language. I could use some grub too.
Pour us out a couple. Pass one over. Tell she's got something on her mind she wants to talk to you about. So, hey, I guess you probably heard, I mean, it was kind of all over the papers, that trip I took to the Himalayas didn't turn out so good.
I may have heard some whispers, yeah?
Yeah, it was 5 of us, plus the porters and mountaineers helping us out, and things went kind of bad. And this isn't the kind of thing I would talk to most people about, but you know some stuff, right? You know stuff that the ordinary person doesn't know. So maybe you won't think I'm crazy. And the doctors, they said it was hypothermia, you know, snow blindness, mix of stuff. I was seeing things that weren't there. Maybe I was, but I want to hear what your take on it is, if that's okay with you.
Snow blindness sounds absolutely ridiculous. So I'm just going to nix that off the list very quickly.
I mean, it is a real thing, but I had on my protective glasses, my smoked lens glasses, you know? I mean, we were all prepared. This was a...
blindness only makes you blind, not see monsters.
Just going out on a limb here, but...
In lieu of you saying that, most people would think you're crazy. I think everybody's a little bit crazy, and we just subscribe to whichever flavor suits us best.
Truer words, my friend, and she, like, you know, lifts her shot up and takes...
In saying so, I've also dealt with some very weird visual occurrences like that. I don't know about snow blindness or my particular environment at the time, but I do know that there are spirits out there that I can't necessarily interact with, but they're there. Like,
as he says that, you specifically, Hattie, notice that, like, the salt and pepper shakers from the booth behind you are just, like, floating in the air.
What the fuck?
Down. That's perfect. That's perfect. What do you do?
My character or me, because I would leave.
Yep. Who is used to this shit?
And
yeah, and you hear the salt. You don't even turn around, but you hear the salt and pepper shakers fall behind you.
okay.
You saw that. Did you? No, you didn't see it because you didn't turn around. Oh my God. Maybe the doctors were right. Snow blindness. Yep. There's a lot of snow in this train. Snow blindness.
There must be that new indoor snow I haven't heard about.
What is in this shit? Oh my God, I shouldn't have had that last shot.
Were you gonna, like, help her out, let her know that that's normal shit for you?
So, what you saw actually just happened, so you can, you know, justify what the fuck happened right there, yeah?
Okay.
Believe it or not, it's a pretty normal occurrence for supernatural things, for small things like this to start popping.
While this is the salt shaker. While he's speaking, you just see like that.
The salt shakers like you, Gaspar? I'm like, what is going on here, man?
Ask again later. You're attracted to the cue ball.
Almost like as though it was laughing along or part of the joke, the salt shaker overturns and just, like, a little bit onto your head.
I thought I had problems, but do you need to talk, Gaspar? I mean, I'm here for you, man. Seems like you got some stuff going on.
The spirits seem to be done fucking with you for now. You can tell their energy is like, you just feel in the air like, all right, I'm done.
When I can feel the hairs on the back of my neck settle back down.
You just feel the sense of, like, an asshole who's been fucking with you being like, all right, man, I'm done for the night.
Again, this is a pretty normal occurrence for when people start dabbling into, you know, experiencing these things. As for this lovely present that was
Throw it over your shoulder, hit the devil in the
yeah. Throw it on the
yeah.
left shoulder, catch the devil in the eye, and make that fucker leave.
Room after you do that, like, notably feels more empty than it did before you did that.
So, dude, I was about to unload my problems, but maybe you got some things you want to talk about. Like, you cook, you know, when you're trying to cook at home, it's just like salt's dumping everywhere, like.
Oh, that's the ancestors guiding me to how much, because I don't use teaspoons and tablespoons.
Oh, say no more.
They're guiding my hand.
Say no more. I understand. I'm glad this happened because I feel like you're gonna believe what I have to say about the Himalayas experience. Then, if you're still into hearing my problems,
Yeah, of course.
well, maybe maybe we can help each other out somehow. I don't know, but we went on the expedition. You know, fair amount of publicity. All the papers were following it up to the point where they could. You know, we were trying to send missives back from the anywhere we could that had a telegraph. We got up into the mountains, and we were going for the summit, and everything seemed to be going okay, but we bivouacked for the night, and something about, I don't know, the wind sounded weird. Maybe I should have paid attention to that, but can't say I've ever been that high in the mountains. So I just thought, well, maybe that's just how it is up here, and didn't listen to my gut. So yeah, it was weird noises, and one of the science guys had gone on a little ahead just to take his samples, or I don't know, whatever those eggheads do. And you'd know, Gaspar. And he starts yelling, "Come over here, come look at this." So we all I'm like, is he falling in a pit? What's going on here? Run up, and there's this weird crevasse in the snow. It's deep. Couldn't see the bottom of it. And part of the reason we couldn't see the bottom of it because it was glowing. I don't know, because there was some kind of light down there, like not a shiny light like a lamp from one spot, but just this big glow coming up, sort of greenish glow coming up out of the ice. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel good about the scientists were talking about. Oh, they were all excited. You know how it is. They're all excited about it. Wanted to run in there, see what it was, but I don't know. I didn't feel good about it. But I was there to lead the group and not to do the science. So I said, okay, well, we're going to camp here for the night. And they were making all these plans about how they were going to explore it. I wasn't feeling good about it, but I was like, we'll see what snow conditions are. Because I figured if this creepy feeling kept up, I was going to maybe say, oh, the snow's not right. It's not safe. Come up with some reason, because I didn't feel good about it. I should have said to go down. Should have said go down now, go back to the last camp point. And honestly, I didn't want to think I was a coward. I didn't want them to think, oh, she talks a big game, can fight in the ring, but faced with this mountain, she's chickening out. So we bivouacked that night, and everything seemed quiet. Just the howling wind. That weird glow against the tent walls. I actually managed to fall asleep. Then I woke up. There was a lot of screaming. Something was tearing through the tent. It wasn't like knives or anything. It was like claws. And of course, it was dark. There was snow. There was a lot going on, but managed to just catch some glimpses and that glow from that crevasse of these things that looked like dogs. But they weren't dogs. They had these weird things shooting out of their mouth they were stabbing people with, and claws and tails like lizards or dragons or something. I don't know, man. So I grabbed up my ice axe, started trying to wail on them. I think I got some hits in. You could hit them, but they were fast. You just took luck to hit them. Everything was chaos, and I got separated. Next thing I knew, I was by myself. I was hurt. Managed to drag myself back. What little dawn there was breaking. All the tents were destroyed, and there wasn't a lot left of the rest of my team either. They were, and it's going to haunt me, what I saw that day. But I wasn't much to do. Nothing I could do for them, so I gathered myself and focused on getting back down that mountain, because I didn't know what else to do. Got down the mountain, told the doctors. They said, hypothermia, snow blindness, storm, snow glowing crevasse up on the mountain. People would know about that, right? Not that high up.
Blindness, though.
I, talked to people, tried to find some way, why did this happen to us? And I heard some whispers, some suggestions that maybe this town we're going to, the answers might be there. Is this something you've heard of? Can you verify any of this? Or
Before you answer that, let's make a check. on your clandestine sorcerer trait to see exactly what you have heard about the Hounds of Tindalos, because there's a chance that, like, in your research, you like know the names of these things.
So I'm gonna roll d20
+2.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's 17.
Great. Yeah, you know exactly what she's describing. All right, here's what I'll tell you what you know, and you decide what you tell her. You know that, first of all, like, both your employer and basically all of his friends, all of them know how to summon these things. It's not like one-on-one level, like, summoning at all. Like, you are specifically in 101 level summoning. You couldn't touch this right now. Okay. But it is within your grasp. It's definitely, like, basically your next level. If you were to go through a formal training as a summoner, that would be your next thing. And so you theoretically even know how to do this. So you know that in the past they've mostly, like, they exist on their own, in their own realm, and you really don't know much about what their native existence is like, but you do know that in the last 20 years or so, they've mostly been called to this plane by rich white men to break strikes and to get rid of undesirables. You know these things won't happen in the world. They're from a different universe.
Oh, so they
come here because they were brought here.
Completely separate.
Some guy brought those there. And you know that. They would not have accidentally happened. They would have been a summoning.
Who's guarding this mountain?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like clearly because you were able to get to a certain elevation on the mountain that either something past the point where you were settled or you just happened to be at the entrance of whatever was being guarded there. Whatever lights are down there can't be friendly. And I think the hounds and whoever
Figure that much out.
The hounds, the way you've described them, almost give me the same sense as when you're in the forest and there's a deer that starts running, and you're like, well, if you're running, what are you running from? You know? Maybe the hounds weren't necessarily inherently a threat while you were there, but because of circumstance, they decided that the human interaction would not be the most desirable affect for the situation.
So we just kind of most likely stumbled into that's one possibility.
Wait, hold on. I really want a point of order here. You know, Gaspar, that it would not have been a stumbling. It would have been, there was a sorcerer there who was like, I don't like that you found this crevasse. Here's some fucking hounds. Get the hell out of here or die. Do you want her to continue to believe that she might have accidentally run into these?
No, because then it leaves the false hope that it might not ever happen again.
Okay.
And if you've been targeted once, then it may happen.
All right, so
Okay.
Clear that up.
So I'm going to need you to stay away from that mountain.
That's not going to be a problem.
I'm not quite sure how the summoners in question would have the possibility to keep tabs on Hattie's character.
Right. So, do you have a trait you think you want to roll for, just like to try to put the weird disparate ends of this kind of together in your brain in a way that makes sense?
Practice bureaucrat.
That works. Definitely.
That is a D8. Okay.
Yeah, do you have
Any aptitudes you want to add?
Learn new language doesn't necessarily mean a fancy word. It could just be the way you use your words.
I like it.
Yeah. Oh, so
that's how this game works. Is like, I like how creative you're being with your explanation of why this is working.
Hey,
yes, then you can have it.
I did a 10 on a D8. Does that make sense?
No, that's good.
You
That's
got
it. You good. You just got a 10 on a D8.
You got extra.
So that was a good show, Bean. It means you got a very excellent success on that particular roll. There's actually a mechanical benefit to a good show. There are two options for a good show that you can use, and there is one of them that I think you will want to use. One of the good things, and I think I'm going to change it, because right now it says that you can give it to the next player to act for their next role. But I think what I want to do since situations like this is for you to be able to bank your good show, to be able to, if this comes up in the future, either for you or for another player, that you'll be able to reach back to that bank and be like, I got a good show on this. I figured all this out in the past. Now I'll be able to use it. So that's one option, is that you put your net success, which in this case is 4 plus 2, into the bank for later, for something that has something to do with this situation that you will be able to then use on a further roll, or another player will be able to use.
That's pretty cool.
Or the other thing is immediate additional action, because you're not in combat, that won't help you. So you'll probably want the option to put your 6 points of net success into your bank for later on this subject. So that's cool. So you figured it out so good that you don't even know how good you figure it out yet. You can use it later. That's amazing.
Nice.
You know for now that something in the crevasse, which was causing it to glow, was of interest of some sorcerer. And that sorcerer had a guy, and it was probably not the same guy. Like, whoever was interested in this is probably powerful enough that he doesn't have to wait around on top of a fucking Himalayan mountain for somebody to run into him.
Somebody wanders past.
Yeah, like he just hired somebody
Underlings.
and a powerful one. Like, you can't just like Hounds of Tyndalos. You have to be a real sorcerer to do that. Like, whoever is bankrolling this, whoever paid that sorcerer, they had to pay that sorcerer like a lot of money, because that guy can warp reality to his liking, however he likes. So they had to have given him enough incentive to wait around in the Himalayas for someone to stumble on a crevasse. You don't know what's in that crevasse. You want to know. And you want to know so you can avoid it.
I've seen too many sci-fi movies.
He's genre savvy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You. All right. So you know that it at least is something scary, or even more scary than that, something interesting to sorcerers, something that could be used for their power or their benefit. Because if they're camping that mountain, there's something in there they want.
Very valuable.
And basically, those are the things that you have sort of understood from this tale, is that and you assume, because of what your employer, Mr. Whitney, has been saying, and I'll take a good time. This will be a good time to real quick. Mr. Whitney is around 60 years old. He's an old sorcerer. He has been palling around with sorcerers about half his age, and he is worried that they're into some shit that doesn't involve him, that won't benefit him. And you're kind of getting the impression that maybe whatever shit these young guys are into involves the Himalayas and this crevasse.
They're draining the blood from Yetis.
Mystery solved.
Well, we're done. So is there any of that you feel you want Hattie to know? Or do you think you want to just keep that to yourself?
No, sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
That's right.
That is true.
You seem to have experienced and are still reeling from quite a traumatic experience, that a secondary bout of the trauma is not even understanding what you went through. Hopefully I can provide some clarity by validating your experience and 100% saying that shit was nuts. And, fingers crossed it never happens to you again. But I do think that we need to tread very carefully, figuring out, even just researching what it is that it could possibly be that these, in question sorcerers are either guarding or trying to excavate from the mountain itself in that crevasse.
So what you're telling me is a person was directly responsible for my team dying.
Yes. And
I think I know what we're going to do with them.
And they better hope we don't find them.
I'll drink to that.